Well, I'm here chatting with Pastor Heintzen, and it's Memorial Day weekend. You got your red, white, and blue shirt on today,
Yes.
and I understand that you served during the Korean War.
Yes,
Can you
I
tell
did.
us a little bit about your
Sure.
time?
Well, I graduated from high school in 1951, and even though my dad was campus pastor at the University of Illinois, was not moved to go to college. So he said, well, then you better get a job. So I did. I became an apprentice printer. And in the meantime, two of my friends approached me and said, hey, why don't you join the National Guard with us? They pay you for working during the week on drill nights. You get to go to camp for a month, a week up in Wisconsin, and it's really fun. So I joined with them. And then what happened 4 months later is the United States government activated the whole Illinois National Guard, and I became a soldier. And I went through radio school and was in communications. And this was during the Korean War. And in 1952, our government sent me to Korea, where the fighting was still going on between the North Koreans and South Koreans. And of course, there was always the hanging over everything, the Chinese. So I was in Korea for 10 months. And after I'd been there for 10 months, the war ended in Korea. And very soon after that, I joined the throng of men returning from the service. And when I got home, I was so happy to be home, I'll tell you. My dad said, son, he said, we live right here in Champaign, Illinois, where the University of Illinois is. And I'm campus pastor here. And he said, we live within a block of the library and some classrooms. You got the GI Bill. I think you better go to college. And I agreed with him. And while I was in college at the University of Illinois, my dad asked me if I would take the Wednesday evening Vespers that they had at the chapel there. And I said, sure. And so I was leading chapel worship. I was enrolling other people to help. And one day, one of the students that was attending regular Wednesday night services said, he said, you ought to be a pastor. He said, what you share with us is just wonderful. And I thought, well, my dad used to talk to me about that, and I always said, no. And that was the beginning. And I told my dad what I would decided. He put me in the car the next day and drove me to the seminary and introduced me to the people there. And sure enough, when I graduated from the U of I went into the ministry. And what a blessing it has been, especially the ministry here at Our Savior. We moved to St. Petersburg 43 years ago. And up until last year, I was either the senior pastor of the church or I was the visitation pastor. And it's been a wonderful blessing. And the people that God has brought together at our congregation are a fantastic group of people. and they love the Lord. They love to worship. They love to sing. They love to hug. It's been a wonderful experience, and I thank God for it. And I thank all of you that have contributed to the ministry of this church.
And what a blessing you have been to so many people over the years.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor. I appreciate it.
And thank you for your service, too. And as we remember all the men and women of our armed forces this weekend, especially those who made the supreme sacrifice for our freedom, we take the time to thank God for them. I knew
several of those people, too, who were killed in Korea during the fighting there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.